Well, apparently there's news on the horizon now that a brand new Donkey Kong game is coming, and it's all rumors right now, but it's just not like we've heard this one before. Yeah, apparently there is a open world Donkey Kong game in the works, so how likely is this? Probably not at all, but of course, we're going to talk about it. So, of course, starting back a long time ago, I think like 2-3 years ago, we were hearing rumors about a 3D Donkey Kong and also a 3D Kirby game. This was a very long time ago, and actually the Kirby game came shortly afterwards, but nothing from the Donkey Kong franchise ever since. No 2D, no 3D, and then the rumors started switching back and forth saying, oh, this is going to be another 2D game, and then some people said, oh, no, this is actually going to be a 3D game, and even some people said this was being developed by the Odyssey team after all. So, it's kind of a back and forth situation with Donkey Kong. We really don't know what to believe, but apparently there's something coming, something big, and it just makes sense with all this hype for the Mario movie, Donkey Kong being a big emphasis, and obviously Donkey Kong getting an expansion in the Orlando theme park. Nintendo needs to give Donkey Kong something other than the port of Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, so what is next for the Kong family? Well, could it be open world? Let's dig into this article a little bit. So I guess lots of this information comes from Nintendo Prime's podcast, and it was reposted by comicbook.com, but it talks about 3D Donkey Kong game being in development for a very long time, and said that this project was at first helmed by Activision Studios and Vicarious Visions before eventually moving in-house to Nintendo around 2017 and 2018. So apparently this game has been worked on by Nintendo since the start of the Nintendo Switch, probably since the finishing of Mario Odyssey, which is a very long time. So apparently the project was titled Donkey Kong Freedom at one point, and it takes place in an open world that allows Donkey Kong to slide on trees to get around, just like Tarzan. Now, I'm sure he will be grabbing vines and swinging around as well, but I guess what they mean by sliding on trees is when Tarzan would slide down the trunks and the roots of the trees, kind of like a grind rail. So maybe Donkey Kong will technically be grind railing everywhere and swinging from vine to vine, which actually sounds pretty neat. I think they could do a lot with that, and we'll get into that in a second. But also it talks about how Shigeru Miyamoto was also claimed to be at the helm, or at least heavily involved with this Donkey Kong game. And apparently it's still absolutely in development, and it could be a launch game for the next console. Okay, so let's start off with the fact that this game is going to be open world apparently. Does that sound correct? I mean, this is a weird franchise to also move into open world, I think, already. I just wasn't really expecting it. I think a lot of people want 3D Donkey Kong, but open world is definitely different. So how would this actually work? Well, after thinking about it for a while, I found this to be actually something that could work really well, because Donkey Kong normally takes place on an island like DK Isle, and what's very interesting about that is we never really get to fully explore this island at our own leisure, and I feel like it would make a perfect open world map for us to kind of go throughout the entire island, and there would be some areas that we can't reach until we level up Donkey Kong or something, but I would love to just be able to fully explore Donkey Kong Island any way that we want. That'd be awesome, and we kind of seen something that tried to do that with Donkey Kong 64. Now, it wasn't open world, but it was more of a sandbox Donkey Kong game that allowed us to kind of explore open areas with any Kong in order to collect bananas, and of course color-coordinated bananas, but also complete objectives and defeat bosses in order to move on to the next world. And I honestly feel like this is what Nintendo should do, because I hate to say this, but Donkey Kong isn't amongst one of Nintendo's greatest right now. It's just not, because there's not too many games, and normally they just stick with the same 2D type of games. Now, I'm not saying that 2D Donkey Kong doesn't get anything done, you know what I mean? So here's the DK sales for the most copies sold with the best games. So we have Donkey Kong Country 2 at 6 million, Donkey Kong 64 at 5 million, which is actually a lot of copies sold, believe it or not. Donkey Kong Country Returns is the highest with 9 million, but unfortunately Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, in my opinion the best Donkey Kong game, was only 2 million on the Wii U and only 4 million on the Switch. I have nothing against 2D Donkey Kong, don't get me wrong. Tropical Freeze is one of my favorite video games of all time, so I would love to see another 2D Donkey Kong, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to sell gangbusters what Nintendo might want it to do. So what I'm thinking is maybe Nintendo is planning for a huge 3D Donkey Kong open world, in fact, that would completely bring Donkey Kong back on top along the lines of Mario even. As yes, a new 2D game would probably sell really well, but I'm thinking they're going for something like 15, 20, maybe even 30 million units sold with this next Donkey Kong game. Because once again, Nintendo is hyping up Donkey Kong a lot recently with the Mario movie, the theme park. They just need a really big game to go alongside it, and then it would probably release right around the same time as the Donkey Kong expansion as well. And there's even rumors of a Donkey Kong movie spin-off coming after the Mario movie, so it could be Donkey Kong time very soon. Now there's also a big debate with the Nintendo community right now what Nintendo's future plans are. Are they going to move forward with a new console very soon, like almost next year soon? Or are we going to stick with the Nintendo Switch for another 2, almost 3 years? It's impossible to say, and even Nintendo themselves give very vague answers, so we really don't know. Of course, Nintendo's going to say the Switch is doing well, it's going to continue to go on, because it's going to continue to go on. Even when a new console comes out, there will probably be tons of reasons to still have a Switch. Remember, Breath of the Wild came out on both the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, and the 3DS continued to pump out games for the first year of the Nintendo Switch. I mean, there was even a new Metroid game. So at the end of the day, just because there's a new Switch doesn't mean the old Switch is just going to die. Nintendo is still going to probably support it for a year or two. But with that said, could the next big game be the big Donkey Kong game on the next big console as one of the bigger titles? It definitely could, but then it also kind of conflicts with Mario. Where's Mario at? When is the next Mario game going to be? That's the problem. But honestly, there's so many things they could do with a 3D Donkey Kong game. It's amazing. So, you know, jumping straight into open world is kind of a bold move, but I would just seriously love to see a 3D Donkey Kong game now. It's been so long. Fans are making their own games to finally see what this would look like. I think it's the smartest and best move for Nintendo if they really want to bring Donkey Kong's attention up and they really want to make it a main series franchise that kind of comes out every 3 or 4 years. Could you imagine? I mean, that would just add to the excitement for Nintendo. And they could even use the same characters and enemies and villains that we've seen before. For instance, King K. Rool. Just make him a villain. Bring back the Kremlings. Bring back all the past enemies like the Snap Traps and everything from Donkey Kong Country and just build a 3D world. And if this truly is going to be an open world, can you imagine all the different locations on the island that you can go to? I mean, just literally use the locations from Donkey Kong Country Returns and then flip the game into a full 3D adventure game where you can explore the island in any way that you want. And maybe each segment of the island is a little world that you get to explore. Maybe there's a little desert world or a little beach area, a cove area, or a minecart world. And you know, that would just be so cool. And I think the potential is massive. And I think it could be the reason why we're still waiting to see what the heck is going on with Donkey Kong. It's also the case of we just don't know what's coming out in Nintendo's future, and it seems like right now we're just here to speculate. So whether this is true or not, it's exciting to speculate what could be coming because right now all we know about is Tears of the Kingdom and Pikmin 4. Besides those 2 games, there's nothing left, and Tears of the Kingdom comes out in just over a month. So maybe this is just going to be a holiday game. Maybe this is something that's coming out very soon and we'll hear about it very soon. So it's only a matter of time until we hear what's next for Donkey Kong, but let me know in the comments down below what you think about this rumor. Would you be very excited for an open world Donkey Kong? Would you just be, you know, happy for any 3D Donkey Kong or any Donkey Kong at all? Let me know in the comments down below what else you would want to see within this Donkey Kong, and make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Donkey Kong and Nintendo in general, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.